open mic. I'm your host, Ramsey Chidi. I'm a intuitive healer, psychic medium, and I have my co-host, Tanis Coughlin, with me from Twiller Lifestyle. Tanis, go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Tanis Coughlin from the Twiller Lifestyle Community, Twiller Lifestyle Academy. I am an intuitive energy healer like Ramsey, and also a channel and a Celtic shamanic high priestess and a crystal master. So looking forward to sharing.
Got a couple of more, but that's okay.
I forgot a couple more. I do other stuff. I do other stuff too.
You can connect with Tanis on the twillerlifestyle.ca. There's a 15-minute free consultation or a coffee. That's what it is, and you can also connect at ramseychidi.net for a coffee session. It'll be fun.
Come chat.
Come chat. We're here and ready for you. And actually, I did get a couple of people who took advantage of that. It's really cool to connect with people.
It is. Yeah, it's awesome. It's always great to connect with new people and learn their stories and all of that stuff. Yeah, it's fun.
So today's episode, or whichever it is, it's a recorded one, so it's going to be ahead of time. And we don't like usual. We don't actually plan for our sessions. They all free flow. And today we don't even have a topic for it, so we decided to pick a card, any card. So we'll start with Tanis. She has a deck of cards. We'll pick one and see what we're going to discuss.
Chakra. So this is the deck. Chakra Wisdom Oracle Guidebook. This is the book from the deck by Terry Hartman. Okay. So let's see what comes out. These are like one-word things, so we'll see. We'll see what comes out today. What are we supposed to? Oh, there, it's jumped out here. Oh, all right.
Rejection. That's actually a great topic to discuss.
It is. The other side of that is attachment, right? Yeah. So we've got two. If we look at balance. So what are your cards saying?
What's the rejection?
What's rejection? Well, there could be rejection of a person. There could be rejection of a belief system. It's the letting go, really. It's a process of one person letting go and the other one not.
That's a good way to put it, actually. Yes. Yes.
So the one that's not letting go feels rejected.
The one that doesn't let go is the one with an attachment.
Yes.
Yeah. So a rejection is very hard. It is painful.
Can be.
From the person who's attached. Then let's go into attachment and see what an attachment is. An attachment is anything that you put a lot of emphasis on and try to protect with whatever means possible. Usually we're attached to things, material stuff.
Or people.
And people.
Like codependency.
Yes, codependency is one of the biggest things.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened with the energy world when you put too much energy into something, when you're pushing something, there's, of course, a resistance from the other side.
Yeah.
Every action has a reaction. That's a law of physics. And it applies to everything in the world and the universe. So the more you're pushing onto someone, there's going to be a pushback because that space that is being invaded now by the energy of the other person will not be welcoming it. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it depends on, there are times when it is reciprocated, but certainly not in with our topic today. If somebody's not willing to receive what you're pushing, there's going to be resistance and pushback, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful thing when it actually does work, but it's not a healthy attachment when it's like that, right?
I wouldn't say it will ever work from my perspective. What I'm looking at, and maybe
Yeah,
I'm not explaining it well, is a strong attachment. So there is an invasion into other
right.
people's spaces.
Yes,
When
that's not going to work when it's like
when
that.
when you're connecting with someone, there's a connection that fills in. There's a reciprocation of in and out,
Yeah.
and that reciprocation creates a bond, and
Agreed.
that bond becomes I don't want to say a shield, a strengthened connection between the two.
hmm hmm
What I was looking at the rejection is when one is forcing something onto the people.
Right. That's kind of what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
like it's okay if it's being taken, like if it's reciprocated, because then it's like a back and forth. It needs to be
Mhm.
even, basically, right?
Yes.
It needs to be equal amount put in on both sides for it to be a healthy thing,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Rather than too much on one side, because then it's that
Yeah.
that attachment thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't like. We got rid of all the kings around the globe, not because they weren't good. They weren't good, but they forced their will onto the people. They
Right.
forced. So the people revolted against that. They couldn't. They wanted to be free.
Yeah.
And now we have what do you call them? Ah,
Government,
governments. Okay,
elected officials in most places. We do have some dictatorships around the world,
yes, we do
but
have that. But those dictatorships, well, not all of them, some of them that survived the ages were where they adapted.
yeah, yeah,
They gave the sense of freedom, and at the same time, they held some. So it was it's like an elastic game. It's a pull and push, pull and pull, and opposite poles. You let go a
right,
bit and you pull a bit so that the
right,
elastic doesn't break, and you keep an equilibrium working on both ends.
yeah.
The ones who just pull all the way kind of suppresses their people, and I don't know how healthy that environment is, but there are certain places.
Choice. It's a choice. It's one choice. I don't know that's the best choice in situation, but it's a choice by leaders, that they feel they need to do that.
Yes, and that's out of fear of being overthrown
hmm
and the attachment to power.
And their own
And
insecurity often,
yes, you
right?
fear the rejection of the people,
hmm
so you want to control it even further. Now, from the people's perspective, um, I could say that they're suppressed, but they don't leave. Now,
And that's
there,
an interesting dynamic, right?
yeah,
Isn't that kind of like the codependent and narcissist thing playing out, but in the world stage
yes, kind
in
of, yeah,
some way, right? Because
yeah,
they're like attached and they think that that's what it is, that's what life is, and they're kind of like they feel stuck. They're
mm,
like, I don't know. So it's kind of like the codependent in a narcissistic relationship in a way.
absolutely, yeah,
You know, I mean, there's always that as above, so below, but there's also like microcosm versus macro in the world, right? I mean, we go through that with all sorts of healing. So it's interesting, though, to think about politics in that way.
yes.
I haven't actually thought about that before. Thanks.
It does apply everywhere. It
Mhm,
does.
mhm. So the energy attachments,
Yes.
because that plays a role in our attachment to things, people, situations, right? Cords, energetic cords,
Mm.
because we have energetic cords that attach us to things in our lives. And, that's where you can get the negative cord cutting done so that you can release that stuff without as much angst
Yeah.
in terms of the pain, right? Because oftentimes if you think of the mechanics of that, if, for instance, so if you have like an energetic connection, an energetic cord with somebody, and they die suddenly, for instance, right? All of a sudden that gets like yanked, right? So it's super painful because there's no time to kind of like ease that yank. It's a yank, right? Whereas if you can do the cord cutting part, even if it's after, if you cut the cord, and like when you do a cord cutting, it's almost like you're, when you burn a wound, you're like sealing it a little bit so that you're not still sort of bleeding. At least the cord cutting that I do is a very ceremonial, and it uses incense and all that kind of thing. So in a sense, it's like cauterizing the wound, right? So that it doesn't keep being painful. And I think, so when we look at those etheric cords, if we can cut the cords with those people that we're attached to, that we don't want to be attached to, of course, we don't want to cut the other ones, but just the ones we want to get rid of, then sometimes that makes that easier because it's not going to continue to hurt the same way.
Yeah. The question is, how do you know that there's a cord attached to you?
Well,
okay.
Can you feel it? I feel them and I see them. So I'm not a good example for general public where that's concerned.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on a spot like that.
How do you feel it? How do you know, Nancy? I have a feeling your response is the same as mine. I feel them and I see them.
Yes, but I also developed something that I started to realize is that when out of the blue, for example, you get that icky feeling towards someone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, out of the blue, you're on vacation in, I don't know, on a beach somewhere with a drink in your hand, and all of a sudden you just like cringe, and that person gets into your head. That's when you realize that there is something there. Okay, and if it does repeat, then there's a cord attached.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a cutting of the cord. It's those little, sometimes they're subtle, sometimes they're strong. It depends on the relationship with the other person.
Well, and the size of the cord. And that's kind of like, if you're looking at it energetically, it's the size of the cord, which would be dependent on the relationship, like you said, right? Mm-hmm. So like there's, I've cut cords from like tiny thread to like this big, depending on the person. This one, like they felt it. When I cut it, they felt it. Like they felt raw in that area. It was necessary for this one, but they felt the whole energy experience of it. The little ones we don't feel if we just, it's kind of like a little haircut, but the bigger ones are more impactful. The other thing that's interesting about that, so that's the side of the person that doesn't know, but if someone actually gets a cord cutting and you're one of their cords, you may actually all of a sudden think of them and think something's wrong, and you're not sure why. And it may be because they've had a cord cutting, and all of a sudden you're not feeling them. And it may not be conscious. It may be very subconscious, but your intuition kicks in and is like, what's wrong with so-and-so? Right? So I always warn my clients, if you have a cord cutting, don't be surprised if whoever you're cutting this cord with reaches out to you. It's still your choice whether you respond, but just know they may reach out to you. And I've had more than one client who's cut cords with like people they haven't spoken to in years and years, and all of a sudden they get a text from them within a day or two.
They felt it.
Because they feel the difference, right? Mm-hmm. But that's actually an energy drain on that person then too, right? They're not even in their life and they're draining their energy.
They're called energy vampires. I don't know if you've heard the term.
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
I haven't used it because vampires does sound like a bit off, but that's what it is. It's like somebody is literally sucking the life out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Without, it could be intentional.
It's not usually. I mean, usually it's not, I would say. I don't think most people don't go out there and say, okay, I'm gonna suck their energy. It's not usually the thought process for people. They do it unintentionally, but it's behavioral. So there's behaviors that perpetuate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Energetically, it's that old physics law, right? You have a high vibration and a low vibration. You put them together, and the low vibration raises. Well, where's it getting the energy from?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So most times it's just, oh, I really like hanging out with that person. Of course you do, because it feels good. Right?
Yep.
And that's that attachment. And that's where, the person that has been doing this, if this person is like, okay, that's enough, they feel that rejection,
Mm-hmm.
like what we were talking about, right? Because all of a sudden they're like, wait, I can't hang out and get my energy high anymore. How am I going to do that? Right? Meditate, guys. Meditate. Okay.
I one time did something with work, a colleague, where I said, "This is it. I'm just cutting it." I don't think it was ceremonial. It was more forceful, if you want to call it. I'm done, and all of a sudden, within very short period of time, I felt the energy in the space literally ripped apart.
Wow.
And the other person stopped talking to me. Not stopped in that way, like, oh, I don't want to talk to you, but it became more of a business type of conversation.
Right.
It
Right.
just,
It was like whatever need, and people feel that shift.
yeah.
I'm going to ask all of you, because I know you can just put it in the chat, even though we're recording this, but I know that you've been in a space where with somebody, and all of a sudden, why does this feel different now? And you haven't made any choices.
Mm.
That is the energy shift that we're talking about, right? So somebody may have had this shift, may not be as, blatant as what you're describing, Ramsey, but it can be a very subtle, like, oh,
Yeah.
even it's like, I don't know that I feel quite the same about this person all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
we feel that on a subtle level,
One
if
day they're
you're
friends, and the next day they're acquaintances,
exactly.
and you're not sure what happened.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's that, and also when you change your energy, when you progress in moving forward,
Hmm.
let's say awaken, to use that term, and some of your friends are left behind, that shift also cuts cords automatically.
It does.
Intentionally, nothing. It happens. It's a natural thing. It happens.
That's
Because
more
yeah, go ahead.
atrophy it's like an atrophy sort of
Mm.
process with that one. It gradually kind of like, at least for me, a lot of them have been gradual, thankfully. But I mean, we all have that stuff. People come into your life for a season, right? And then things change. Sometimes that's you move or they move or whatever. Other times it's that the vibration changes, either theirs or yours or both. But you're not in the same range anymore, because we're more comfortable with people that are in our vibrational range.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'll put it in a different way, just in case it's not clear.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a sports team, basketball, for example, you're with the team, you play basketball all the time, you have this bond together, and all of a sudden, one day you decide to become a football player. It's just like that. You just graduated from one type to another, and the others are gonna fall apart, are gonna fall off.
Yeah.
Not
You
that you don't like
won't be
them.
hanging with them as much because you don't have the same common
Yeah.
interests, right?
So they form a bond with the new person that joins the team, because they're short one person, and the new team that you're on will form a bond or connections with you, and it has nothing to do with anything. It happens naturally, and that's what we're
Yes.
talking.
Yeah.
To make it visually different.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's better because it makes it sound more natural than the atrophy is a little strong, I guess. It's like a natural waning, ebbing and flowing, right? So the ebbing of a relationship as opposed to atrophy might have been a better choice.
It's all good.
Sometimes it's atrophy.
Yes, it is.
We prefer it to ebb, though.
So, since we're still talking about energy and all of that, today we're recording on the 4th, and we're airing on the 10th, and in between, there's a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
So literally in between, there's a full moon, and with the full moon, naturally, energy changes.
It does.
The moon, actually, if people don't believe that it has energy, it actually pulls the sea back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's how strong it is. So if it can pull the water back and forth to the shoreline and back, what is it doing to us?
Same thing. We're 80% water.
Yes. So we're changing. There's something happening. And I've heard a lot about the what is it? Waxing moon? Is it? I can't remember
Which
what it's
one?
called. The one that is coming. The full moon.
I
don't know if it's
oh my
waxing.
goodness. I'm having a brain fart.
We weren't planning
Waxing
on
is adding. Waning is, so we're actually in the waning because it's waxing is when you're sorry, no, we are in the waxing moon.
We're in the waxing moon.
It's adding, yes. New moon is none. So when you go from full moon to new moon, you're getting less. So that's the waning. And then the waxing is from the new moon where there's no reflection to the full moon where it's full reflection.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just checking something quickly. This is the last one for winter, actually.
Right. We're going into spring. We have the spring equinox in what, 2 or 3 weeks now?
Yes. Finally. Death to winter.
We're recording this on a day we're having a snowstorm, guys. So
But actually, this year was why am I going back and forth? But we had a minus 43 for a couple of days. Okay, I was in India at that time, but still,
lucky you.
Whoever was left behind in this country actually had a really tough winter. It was really cold, and anything below 15 is just bloody cold, anyways.
Yeah.
So
once you get below that, it's cold. Like yeah. But we've had a lot of snow this year. I don't know if you guys have in Montreal, but we have in Ottawa. Yeah. We've had like over 300 centimeters or something this year.
No.
And we're getting more. So that's going to go up.
Yeah, I don't know. There's snowing outside, but I have no idea where it is. But by the way, for all those viewers, Tanis is in Ottawa. I'm in Montreal. We are Canadians, different cities. Well, 2 hours drive, but yeah.
There's no time and space, though.
We're connected with the world through this.
Energy.
So we're talking about the moon. So there's a full moon coming up between now and the airing of this this recording.
Oh, that's why we got those cards.
Which cards?
So we picked cards before we came on, and they were both about completion.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what this is, right? The full moon is like all about completions, the ending of cycles.
Yeah, so, and I thought it was my ending.
I had to console him and tell him really it's just a cycle.
Oh yeah, mine it's almost over. That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember which one mine was, but it was something like that.
Yeah, mine it's almost over. So I thought it was almost over for me, but it's almost over for a season for one paradigm into the other. And
yeah, or ending of cycles. It can be the ending of cycles. So oftentimes with a full moon, we have an ending of cycles.
Yeah.
There it is, completion. That was the one we had. So, I mean, people might see that and get a little freaked out because it's like in a cemetery and stuff. But really, in cards and stuff, that completion thing is just all about ending and new beginning, right? Because
It's
when
like
we
the
look
death
at
card.
that, sorry?
It's like the death card.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Death card, by the way, in tarot, not a death card, as in you got a card, you're gone.
Yeah.
It's in tarot cards.
And it's an indication of a big life change.
Yes.
Is what it often is.
And so we're changing season, and oh, look, it was the first card.
There
It's
you go. Yeah. You're mirrored, but yes, that's the one.
Yeah, I don't know how to change it now. I don't want to cut the recording.
That's okay.
Yeah. So your current challenges will soon be resolved, and you will be able to look to the future with a smile.
And that's exactly what full moons are about. It's about changing, releasing, and bringing in beautiful new energy with the new moon, right?
And don't forget, we're getting spring energy coming in.
Mm-hmm. Which is lots of fun. I'm excited for spring this year. I'm excited for spring this year.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Although I'm going again to the UK. That's why this is a recorded one, not live. I'll be in the UK next Friday. So it will be warmer over there, but spring is not there yet. Spring is not there yet, and I think now we're just starting to see buds growing.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, not over here. Over here, you see nothing.
Over here, you see snow.
It's a whiteout.
Everywhere. If I was to go out my backyard, I'd be almost hip deep in snow, guys. That's how deep it is. And I'm not super short. So for those of you that are in warmer climates.
If you're in warmer climate, please enjoy it. It's a wonderful season now, which is getting into spring. It's getting warmer, but it's not warm, and you get the ins and out back and forth into winter. And that actually, if we look at it from an energetic point of view, it's you're between two places.
Mm-hmm.
You're experiencing both at the same time. You're a traveler within dimensions. The dimension of warmth in spring and the dimension of cold and winter, and you're just
ebbing and flowing.
Yes, and it's actually a beautiful vision. Like I'm talking about it, I can see it. It is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You see these things in movies or stuff when they talk about witches. The one with the ice castle, and the other one is a greenish, and you just shift between the two, and that's where we are at.
Yeah,
we're moving into different type of dimension, and spring is a one of awakening, greener. So after this full moon, we're going to be more we're going to get recharged again. We're going to get recharged, and we have something to do. We have I was going to say we have a mission to do.
A mission.
Yeah. But
that topic's been coming up for us lately.
I want to move away from missions and stuff. We have to just be ourselves and go out in the world and just shine.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're doing with the open mic and I'm sorry, I forgot your show.
Twillo Talk?
Twillo Talk, yes. Twillo Talk. And there's another one with
Michelle, Live, Learn, Love.
Yes, and the one with Nadine, the Awaken.
Yes.
Yeah, Nadine also. So all these shows that we're airing, and we're actually jumping between them all.
Yeah. Hey, that's kind of like dimension jumping.
But it's not just to jump and do shows. We don't get paid for that, actually, to be honest with you. It's something we enjoy. It's a passion of ours that shines through those shows.
Yeah.
We don't sell anything. We don't preach anything.
Well, sometimes we do.
I wouldn't call it preaching.
It's best.
it's
we
we
suggest.
tell you our experiences and how it
Yeah.
works with, and it's up to you if it resonates with you to do it or not. That will be your call at the end of the day. It's more
Yeah. We all have free will, by the way.
uh,
You choose what
well,
you feel, right?
yeah,
We're all different.
absolutely, absolutely. I was no scrolling like this on Facebook and stuff, and YouTube, and what is that, Instagram.
Mhm.
It's hilarious. There's so many of them these days that I lost count.
It's true.
There are all kinds of ideas,
Yeah.
right, left, and center, and evaluating them all, not all because I don't have time to do all of that, but evaluating part of them, the ones that struck me, the ones that just popped out. um, I realized one thing is that some of them I don't resonate with.
Mhm.
I don't resonate with at all. Some yes, some like really no. It's like, you know, but
No, that was a big no.
but if you look at these ideas with an open mind,
Mhm.
you'll say, okay, fine, I understand. I don't have to follow, but I understand. And with that understanding, compassion rises.
Yes.
So there are no different ideas. It's just one idea with a different with a different shadow wherever the sun is shining. Because at the end of the day, there's only one.
Mhm. Yeah,
So the more the shadows, pardon?
I always talk about perspective when you're looking at that, right?
Yeah,
Because, like, so you see an angel and a world and all of that on this, right?
yeah,
That's what it looks like to you. Well, to
yes.
me, well, actually, this isn't a good example because it really is very similar. But to me, I see this really is like an angel, but it's got the writing on it, right? There's more writing, so I get more information on that side. So if I'm looking at this side and you're looking at that side, we're looking at the same thing.
And could look like
It's different.
it could look like a butterfly too, eh?
It could, yeah, yeah. Or there's this one, right? So this side's all bright and colorful,
Yeah.
right? But this is the same thing, but this person is seeing it really sad and dark,
Ooh,
right?
that's the rejection one.
That's
Yes.
the one we're talking about, by the way.
Yeah.
Kind of. So we've got, so this perspective is a little darker about the same thing than this one, right? And that happens often. We'll see. So, like, I see the solar storms, for instance. We're having this big solar storm thing that's coming, right? That's here actually because of the sun. There's a lot of there was a depolarization effect, and it's creating this plasma that's coming out towards our ionosphere. And so we've had a whole bunch of solar storms. It's increased our number of coronal mass ejections that come flying at the Earth or elsewhere. But either way, it creates a higher vibration in the Earth because it hits, and there's a higher vibration jump. So a lot of people are looking at this like it's a negative thing. Well, the higher vibration jump is what's helping us to evolve, right? And ascend to a higher vibration. So I see it as a good thing, although it's like messy going through it because it brings up all our stuff. But it's still a good thing. I'm seeing it like this, whereas there's other people that are like nervous about this. They get scared because they're not really sure what's happening and it feels icky. So they're looking at it like that, right? But it's the same event. And so how can we ask ourselves to look at things a little bit more like this when we're looking at things? That's kind of the invitation. And we're not always gonna be able to do that. Like those videos that you are like, no, that's not going to be for you, and that's okay. But just because it's not for you doesn't mean you have to look at it like this, right? You can look at it like this, but be like, okay, that's not for me, right? And I think that's what you're getting at, right? To look at things with compassion, look at them with love. Just because you don't really see value for you in that, it may be making a huge positive impact on the person that's doing it or somebody else that's watching if it's a show.
Absolutely.
So just being open and accepting, I guess, is the invitation in that.
Because
Sorry, that was a bit of a rant. But
no, that's a good one. Because the same thing could happen from somebody seeing our show and going in the same way, but it's impossible. But it could happen. Highly unlikely. I'll stress on that, but it is possible.
Well, we try to be fairly, inclusive and all that, but you can't please everybody, right? That's just the way of the world. We're all at different vibrations, just like we were talking about, right? There may be people at a different vibration that see us and be like, "Who are those two? What on earth are they doing out there?"
But you know what? The beauty of the world is because we're different.
It is.
Not because we're similar. If there's going to be 7 billion men that look like me that are occupying the world, it is a horrible. Oh, okay, it's a beautiful place to picture.
It would be a little boring, I'm just saying, because they'd all be the same.
It's all boring. It is boring, and it ends. There's nothing there. It just ends.
Even though we love you, Ramsey, a million of you would be lovely. But, really, the uniqueness is what makes us beautiful, right? That we're all unique.
Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people, a lot of stuff on social media attacking others or doing others. I don't see that as a positive impact on anybody.
No.
Although I see where that person is coming from.
Yeah.
But I feel that that's the beauty. They're different.
Mm-hmm.
They're different, which is awesome.
Well, those people that are saying it are coming at it from their wounded space, right?
Out of fear.
Yeah.
Out of fear and pain of fear that is sitting in there. And I say that not from a philosophical point of view, but from an actual experiences that I've lived.
Yeah.
During the war in Lebanon, we were living in a Christian area. It was actually surrounded to where we're just like, here's the pure race, and here's everybody else. But when the borders opened, when I left, when I came over here, I couldn't understand a lot of stuff. Of course, I was judgmental. And then slowly, I started to understand cultures through languages.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I had an expansion of awareness. And one of them, I had a friend, a colleague at McGill who became a good friend of mine. He's from Pakistan. And we're talking one day, and I go, when I first met him, first of all, his name is Timur. And there is, in my words, I said, "Oh, you're named after that barbarian that came from the east and destroyed everything all the way to the Mediterranean." He goes, "Who are you calling barbarian? He's the greatest conqueror of our time." And it's just like, it was like, cold water. What is he talking about? What do you mean greatest? And I realized from their perspective, he brought a lot of wealth and expansion to the countries that he came from.
Right.
From my perspective, the oppressed or the people who got killed along the way. And I'm talking about, I can't remember which century that was in.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. But our history books depicted that person as a barbarian.
Right.
And their history books depicted that person as the greatest conqueror. And it's all a matter of perception and where you go. And once you get out of your shell, your little, there's only me type of shell, you realize that the beauty is in the diversity of everything around us.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed.
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a rampage too.
I think we're just channeling, to be honest. The guides are talking through us, guys.
Yeah.
That happens and we go on. Yeah, for sure. I think, in many ways, this conversation is more about perception than about rejection.
True.
Perception is, and I mean, it affects rejection, right?
Yeah.
Because it's only a rejection if we perceive it as a rejection as opposed to a letting go. And we let go because there's a need to move forward. Now, so one thing that's interesting to talk about would be, when we move forward on our own journey, and we talked about those friends that maybe aren't moving forward, I think there can be some judgment around that. And not just from those moving forward to the ones that are not. I think it can go the other way as well, and a self-judgment, right? Yeah. So I think it's important to note that we need to stay out of judgment when that sort of thing happens. In terms of negative judgment, we're talking here. I mean, we all have to use, judgment, whether to do something or not. But the negative separation kind of judgment we're talking. Mm. I think, there's a tendency for us people pleasers to feel guilty that we are the ones that are changing, that we are moving, right? And you feel like you're leaving people behind. And there can be, if you're a people pleaser or an empath, which, a lot of us are, we tend to be like, it's my fault because I'm evolving. I'm moving forward. If I hadn't gone down this road like that, maybe things wouldn't be like that anymore, right? Like you'd have all those friends that you've left behind. And so is there a guilt behind that? Well, it's our whole purpose to move forward. But that's not something that we all embrace because change is difficult. Our perception is that we don't know what's coming, so change is hard.
Yeah. Change is hard, yes, because you can't see where you're heading. Mm-hmm. And once you cross the river, it's like, really? I waited that long?
Yeah.
That bloody Band-Aid, I've been suffering with it and like nicking it a bit at a time. It's like, here it's done. We changed and that's fine. Because time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So if you have something to do, okay, don't rush and jump off a cliff, but
you have to feel it in your heart first. That doesn't feel good in the heart. I'm just saying. At least for both people.
Do feel it and do realize that change is good. If it's okay, for the people that are living in the northern hemisphere, for example, we have daylight, we have nightlight. That specific part. If you go up north, you have 6 months of day. Your day is 6 months or 8 months. I can't remember what it is. And then all of a sudden, it's dark for 4 or 5 months. And all of a sudden, it's light again for 8 months. Would you like to live there? I don't think so.
Not me.
And it's cold most of the time. And I was
really not me.
One time we had a student, a colleague, well, I was taking that class, and the lady there from northern Norway, in the middle of basically nowhere, which is stunning pictures. They get tired of having to sleep in the middle of the day and wake up in the middle of the day and do their work in the middle of the day, and it's just there's no rest.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, they're in complete darkness.
I don't know how I'd work. How do you work, Dave? Like, how do you work for your... I think I would go into hibernation.
Yes. That's why bears go into hibernation.
Yeah. Because it's dark.
It's dark. 4 or 5 months, it's dark. So you need that change. You need that constant change. The more you change, the better it is. Mm-hmm. Spring is only beautiful right after winter.
Right. And that shows the contrast thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And summer is beautiful right after spring.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the summer, all you want is for the fall to come to cool it off a bit.
It's true.
You go, now I need to relax. It's beautiful. I'm enjoying the cool breeze. Oh, the color of the leaves are changing. Now everything is changing. And we go into a sleepy mode, which is the winter time.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get tired of it very short, exactly 5 minutes after. But
I just like a shorter one. Because we like winter in terms of around the holiday season, no matter
yeah,
what holiday, right? There's like 12 holidays that we celebrate all over the world. That holiday season in December, we really, in many of our cultures, we're really used to having winter or snow on the ground for that. And so it's whatever you're used to, right? We're used to having that. But I'd like it to end like the 15th of January. And here we are, March.
I know. There's some people that love winter sports and they go out and they ski and stuff like that. I like the where you hibernate and you have hot chocolate or glass of wine and not go outside. But look at it from the outside, from the inside out. It's beautiful out. It's white. It's gorgeous. But I'll stay inside.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I liked winter. I wish I was like a skier or something, but it's just not me.
Yeah.
It's just not me. I've tried and it's not me. I'm a couch fireplace kind of girl,
Yeah.
hot chocolate, tea, wine. Yeah.
So we do change is very, very good. It helps us. It regenerates us.
Mm-hmm.
One, you go from, let's go back into the seasons because I love the seasons. You go from the summer being very active into the fall, the harvest time, you pick up stuff, and then you hibernate in winter and you use whatever you're harvested in September to get through winter because in the old days didn't have fridges or didn't have planes to move stuff across the globe. They actually conserved the food, ate it during the winter time, and in
Mm-hmm.
spring you started to plant again. And in the summer you're taking care of the land and everything. And so this beautiful cycle. It is a beautiful cycle. I know we don't feel it that much these days because from an office person like myself, you're 8 hours a day inside with neon lights, so it doesn't matter if it's spring, summer, or winter. It's just neon lights passing through your day. So it could be a bit different, but still, with the change of season, with the change of the moon, with the change of everything, it's beautiful. You feel it. You feel a lot of spring.
Yeah, you can feel it in the air
Yeah.
when it starts. I was starting to feel that yesterday, actually, before the snow. And one of my friends, well, Ruth,
Yeah.
we were chatting this morning, and she's like, "Yeah, spring is coming. It's just winter having a temper tantrum." I was like, "Yeah, that's right. It's a last ditch effort to keep it cool." And
Actually, this is what we do before we actually change. This is awesome. Before we change, we just put our foot down. We start the what do you call it? We have a tantrum on the floor. I'm not gonna do this. Blah blah blah. And then, oops, it's done. Oh yeah, okay, I'm done. Good. Let's move on.
isn't that about moving the old energy out
Yes.
energetically, right? If you look at kids, that's what they do. They have to have a temper tantrum because they've got all this energy built up, and then they have to do something to release it. So they cry or they have a temper tantrum or whatever. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, fine. I feel better. Let's do something. And then they're off to the next thing. Right?
Yes. And that's, I think, what is also happening in the world.
Yeah.
All these things that are sprouting and people are screaming and the fears that are creeping into people's hearts.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's a last ditch before the light comes out and burn all the fog away.
Yeah. Beautifully put.
It's hard though because you can't see it yet.
All you see is fog.
All you see is fog.
And the light feels far away in the fog.
It's diffused. It's not clear,
Mm-hmm.
but it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming. That's what happens at the last ditch where we like just lose our tempers and then we jump everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So on this beautiful note, Tennis, anything else you'd like to add to our beautiful listeners?
Just be patient with each other in the fog. Look for the light in the distance because it's there.
Beautiful. Be compassionate also. That's
Yeah.
part of what you said, but I just used that word.
We need some emphasis on that, right?
Yeah.
Passion and love, kindness for each other. That's what we
And
need.
on that note, guys, we thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And by the way, do hit us up for a coffee, ramseycheaty.net, twillowlifestyle.ca. It's an awesome thing to connect, not to do anything, just to connect. And we have that 15 minutes, maybe more. It all depends on how we feel like it and how the conversation goes.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note,
set our schedule a little bit, you know.
yeah. And on that note, thank you from ramseycheaty.net. Tanis, have a pleasant day.
All the best.